Apple just dropped their thinnest iPhone ever, and if you're thinking about upgrading this year, the iPhone Air might be kind of tempting. But creators and YouTubers have one question. What about this? This tiny little solo camera, this lonely little camera. We're used to like the 3 cameras on the back of the phone. But is this lone camera enough for your content creation needs? Well, in this video, I'm putting the iPhone Air through its paces. We're testing the new front and rear cameras, doing real-world vlogging tests, and finding out if it's actually good enough to replace your main camera for YouTube and content creation. Now, right away with the iPhone Air, obviously the first thing you're gonna notice is just how thin this phone is. It's the thinnest iPhone they've ever made, and creators who just love portability and minimalism are going to love this new design of the iPhone Air. I love it. I think it's a welcome change to the iPhone lineup. And when I gave it to my wife for the first time and let her hold it, she was like, dude, this thing is so tiny and so thin. She couldn't believe how thin this truly was. Now, even though this phone is so thin, Apple still managed to incorporate their 48 megapixel pro level camera into this tiny little design. So let's talk about that camera. The rear camera on the iPhone Air is a 48 megapixel sensor, and it's the same one used in the iPhone 17 Pro. So this is a massive W for creators who want premium image quality, but you want to save some cash over going with the more expensive Pro series. Now on the still side with the iPhone Air, you're getting 24 megapixel photos by default, and I think it's a great balance of detail and file size. Now I think you actually can change it to 12 megapixels if you want to lower your file size just a little bit, but I'd prefer to keep it at that higher megapixel count to just get more information. Now even though there's only one camera, you can do a digital zoom using the 2x crop feature that's gonna get you a little bit more reach for your photography or your filming needs. And surprisingly, as I did my testing, I really didn't notice a huge difference in quality between 1x and 2x zoom. This just shows me that that 48 megapixel sensor is actually doing a really good job at retaining high quality detail out of your images and video clips, even when you crop in at 2x. Now let's talk a little more specifically about the video quality of the iPhone Air. And what I've noticed with this camera after I've used it for a couple weeks now is that the video quality to me seems on par with what the iPhone 16 Pro series and 17 Pro Max series that we reviewed here at Think Media can do in terms of image performance out of that main camera. Video quality is very sharp and detailed. There's a lot of information in the highlights and the shadows. If you're in a scene that's a little bit more dynamically rich, like you have a lot of really brights in the sky, like the sun is really bright or the clouds are bright, and you yourself are maybe a little bit more backlit and in the shadow side of your image, you still can preserve so much of that dynamic range of your scene with these iPhones. Their image quality has honestly come such a long way. On screen, I'll be sure just to cycle through a lot of these tests that I took while using the rear-facing camera during my testing, and I'm genuinely impressed how well this solo camera performed in terms of image quality. I also ran a few tests in my studio using that rear camera for YouTube style talking head videos just like the one I'm filming right now, and I thought the iPhone Air performed really well. Now the drawbacks to that solo camera design would be first, you do not get a telephoto camera. And I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about that telephoto range. Some really like reaching out and grabbing subjects that are further away with the telephoto 5x zoom that these Pro models have on their bodies. But honestly, for me, I hardly use that 5x feature, so it's not really missed so much for me in the iPhone Air. But what does really hurt is not having the ultra wide camera. I use my ultra wide camera all of the time on my 15 and 16 Pros, and it also means you're missing macro mode because the iPhones utilize that ultra wide camera for the macro mode when you're trying to get really close to a subject. So you'll notice when you film videos with the iPhone Air, if you want to get really close and capture those intricate little details on a fabric or a keyboard, something like that, it's not going to be able to pick those up super close. And then of course you just miss out on the magic of filming ultra wide landscapes, or if you're vlogging, I use that ultra wide camera on a daily basis, and it's honestly probably my most missed feature out of the iPhone Air. Now that being said, I would still choose to film most of my videos, especially YouTube style talking head videos, with the main camera on all of those Pro models, which this camera does have. So if you are somebody who wants the best image quality and the best performance, the main camera is always the way to go. Now, even though the ultra wide camera is missing from the iPhone Air, what is never missing from my videos is great stock media thanks to the sponsor of this video, Storyblocks. With Storyblocks, you get unlimited downloads of diverse, high-quality media, all for one predictable subscription cost. Everything you need is in one place. You got 4K and HD video, motion graphics templates, music, sound effects, and much more. We use story blocks all the time at Think Media for B-roll or transitions, or to just add a little extra flavor to our videos when we don't have time to shoot everything that we want to incorporate. I also love that Storyblocks makes a point to support real artists and filmmakers. Everything feels authentic and real. So if you want to save time filming and tell better stories, head to storyblocks.com/thinkmedia or click the link down in the description. Now, one of the biggest benefits of going with the 17 series that Apple just released, including the iPhone Air, is that they upgraded the front selfie cameras on all of the latest gen iPhones. So the 17, the 17 Pro and Pro Max, and the Air all have a brand new front-facing selfie camera. This is a massive upgrade, and we personally think this really makes the front-facing camera finally usable for YouTube videos or social media content without obvious softness or reduction in quality that you normally would get on those previous generation selfie cameras. I think skin tones look more natural with these new selfie cameras. Dynamic range seems to be improved as well, and detail is just sharper in my opinion, so big win with the selfie cameras. I think it's great for vloggers who want to be able to view themselves while they're vlogging and not have to worry about flipping their camera around trying to use that rear-facing camera. I think the front camera does perform well enough where you can just rely on that as your main vlogging tool. And we'll talk about vlogging a little bit more in just a minute. Now, part of great video is getting good audio as well. So whether that's you recording audio with your camera or smartphone, or even editing audio and doing some audio manipulation, these are both aspects you want to think about when using your content creation tools like cameras or smartphones. And so right now I just started a recording on my iPhone Air, so you can see it right here. And I want to switch over to the internal microphone on this iPhone Air so you can see how it sounds. Now there's a few different audio modes that you can cycle through, but I actually found that the studio mode, and I'll show you a little screen recording of my settings, how you enable that and you switch that into studio mode. I think studio mode sounds pretty good, or just the standard mode. I wouldn't really mess with the other modes too much. And I do think the internal mic on the iPhone Air is pretty solid, but if you want to get even better audio, you can purchase some sort of wireless microphone. Like right here, I'm using the Hollyland Lark Max 2 for this video. Or they even have a cheaper one. You can look at the Lark A1, which is a great budget option for like $50. But if you just want to rely on the internal microphone, I think it does sound pretty solid. One thing you will notice though is the speakers are noticeably quieter on the iPhone Air, and you only have one speaker and it comes from the top portion of the phone. And you can see it like right at the very tippy top of the phone is the only speaker. So it's kind of annoying when you rotate the phone if you're like watching a YouTube video or even watching your own content back that you recorded. You're only hearing audio from whatever side the speaker is positioned on, which is kind of annoying. And I think why this matters for creators is that if you're going to edit from your smartphone and use the iPhone Air for editing, the audio experience of editing without headphones is not optimal. You can't really layer sound effects or audio very well with the only one speaker that's included. So if you're gonna edit from the iPhone Air, you're definitely gonna wanna connect a decent set of headphones to do your editing. Now, I did want to share a few thoughts about the vlogging experience with the iPhone Air because I think that's the main reason or way that people will use the iPhone Air as their daily driver. Just kind of like vlogging with your family, everyday content creation, social media kind of stuff. I think that vlogging will be the most common shared content creation style of users of the iPhone Air. So my personal thoughts after using this for a couple weeks are, first and foremost, you will absolutely notice how lightweight this thing is. I also love the improved screen size over my 16 Pro. Now I do use the iPhone 15 Pro Max, the 16 Pro, which has that smaller screen, and now the iPhone Air, which is sort of like an in-between size in terms of screen size. So I do like the larger screen size, but it's way thinner, way more lightweight, which I highly prefer as my everyday content creation tool. You're not really gonna have any issues holding this thing out for your vlog style videos, or if you even rig it up on something like a phone gimbal or a selfie stick or something like that, a tripod. It's a really lightweight phone. It's really not going to be that noticeable for your everyday carry. As we mentioned before, I do think the front-facing camera is really good. I'm actually using it right now to record this video, and I think it's a massive improvement over some of the selfie cameras that I currently have on my older iPhone models. This thing looks outstanding, and it's totally viable for talking head videos and vlogging, just like I'm doing right now. Now, by using this for vlogging and everyday content creation, that's where I kind of saw some of the trade-offs with the iPhone Air, starting with battery life and performance. I thought that since this is a newer gen iPhone, that they would have figured out a way to make the battery life a little bit better, like it is in the Pro series. And the fact that this phone is still pretty large in terms of like overall footprint, even though it is really thin. And I should have thought to myself, Greg, like the phone's gonna be so thin, obviously the battery's gonna suffer. Well, it definitely suffers. By the end of the day, right around 4 or 5 o'clock, I'm easily at around like 30 to even 20% battery life. So I get that notification of like low power mode, turn it on, and I do that to save battery. And so content creators need to be aware of that, and that you probably need to bring along some sort of portable power bank if you're going to use this as your main camera. Another trade-off is not having that ultra wide lens. I love using ultra wide for vlogging, and today I was trying to film some shots of my kids or even just some landscape stuff, and I was like, man, I really miss the ultra wide on my other iPhones. The video results honestly do look really good on the iPhone Air. I just am missing that wide angle lens. Now you can buy some like cases and filters and lenses for your iPhone. Companies like Sandmark or Ulanzi or even Freewell have different lenses that you can adapt to your iPhone to turn the main camera into a more wide angle lens. So you could try that with the iPhone Air to get that wide angle look. But of course, anytime you put a lens in front of your actual camera lens, you are going to diminish the quality just a little bit. I also miss the ability to shoot in Apple Log like I can on my Pro Series phones. That lets you shoot in that flat picture profile, and then it retains the most highlight and shadow information. It just preserves way more detail and color info, and I can better match Apple Log footage to my other like Sony cameras. Like when I shoot at S-Log3 on my FX3, I can match S-Log3 and Apple Log pretty easily, but it's a lot harder to do that with the baked-in look that you get out of the iPhone Air. So who should purchase the iPhone Air? Well, I think if you're a YouTuber or content creator who values portability, minimalism, but also kind of like a sleek and cool design out of your iPhone, and you want something that's a little bit different than what the Pro iPhones have been for many years now, I think the iPhone Air is honestly a viable option so long as you are aware of some of its limitations, like only having one main camera, the inability to shoot in that log profile, and then of course, battery life definitely suffers on the iPhone Air. But if you're okay sacrificing some of those things, then I honestly think the iPhone Air is a very capable content creation tool with a pretty good camera. Now, if you want to check out some of our favorite smartphone accessories for creators, you can click or tap the screen right here to check out that video, and we'll see you in the next one.